Hey everybody, this is Ann Sober or Grayson. Today I am going to be reviewing 4 different boots here for you guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're new to this kind of content or, the hiking world, welcome. If you haven't been hiking this whole time, then you're missing out. But hopefully this will help you get on the right step. Right, so we're going to start off with this shoe. This is the Merrill Moab 3 Mid GTX. And this shoe has gusseting right here, it's called. All of these shoes actually have gusseting, but that's something that's kind of important to me. Getting rocks and stuff inside of here when you're walking or hiking, whatever. You don't want to get rocks in there between you and the shoe. That can cause some kind of, wear on your feet or just make your feet not feel great when you're hiking. It also can help keep out water if the shoe is waterproof. This shoe specifically has gore-tex treatment to it. It's just a waterproof membrane. I'm not sure really how waterproof this is because I haven't used this in a situation where I needed it to be waterproof or my feet to be dry. But I would trust it probably for a couple uses at least, but after that I'm sure it'd need to be re-waterproofed using some kind of wax or like something like that, whatever you use to waterproof your shoes. But I definitely would believe that the leather would be pretty solid with the waterproofing, or anything synthetic for that matter. This does come in I think it's 3 or 4 different colors: beluga, bracken, and olive, and walnut. I think it's that, and I think this one's the walnut one. Actually, no, walnut's a little bit brighter. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's just brown. They come in at about you can get them for like $130, I'd say. I got these for $130 up here where I live, which is a good deal. And this shoe has a pretty solid tread size, like depth. I think it's a 5mm tread depth. So it's gonna last a while. It's a Vibram, outsole or sole, however you want to word it. Whatever language you used for discussing boots. Yeah, it's a solid boot. It's definitely really light, like really light. It's the lightest of the 4, and it's also the cheapest of the 4 too, so keep that in mind if you're on a little bit of a budget. This might be a boot that will get things done. If you don't really need a whole lot of, longevity out of it, and you're not really somebody that hikes a lot, I'm sure this would be a great boot for you. Even if you do hike a moderate amount, I'm sure it would be good. I mean, it has also this rubber in front that protects the toe, and I'm sure, like with this boot, it has this as well. This is the Asolo Fugitive GTX. I'll talk about that too. They all have this feature, but it's nice to have that feature on a more entry-priced boot like this. And this is a very popular hiking boot. I've seen this a lot on trails of all types. But I would personally use it if it were warm weather out and you don't want to have a lot of weight on your feet. Like this right here, this is a heavy boot. Very heavy, in my opinion. It is definitely more towards mountaineering, this kind, like these styles. But yeah, so this is you could do some moderate hiking for sure in this, and I think you'd be happy with it. It also has a lining made with 100% recycled materials. So if sustainability is important to you, then maybe this would be a boot for you as well if you're also trying to save that money. So the laces are as well also made out of recycled material. One thing to note though, sorry if there's a bunch of aspens around me, so aspen trees, so if it's hard to hear me sometimes, that's what it is. There's some wind coming through. Not sure if a storm's gonna hit, but anyways. I wanted to mention that these eyelets are made out of just a synthetic material. They're not all metal. The top ones are. That's good. It usually is on a hiking boot. But these are not. And so I'm sure if you have to tighten these down on your feet, if you got an improper size and you went on vacation, you're like, well, I can't return them, I better use them or try them. and if you're gonna be tightening these down or really cranking them down on your feet, I'm sure these are gonna rip at some point. And I don't know how you replace those exactly. I'm not sure what their warranty is like. That's just something I'm not a big fan of with hiking boots specifically, is, sorry, wind again, is the fabric eyelets. Not a fan. But yeah, cheap, and a lot of great fabrics incorporated in this, and sustainability. I'm not sure about if this is one of those products that releases, I forget what it's called, if it's called PFCs or something like that. It's basically water comes off and it wears off the waterproofing material that's applied to the shoe, and essentially that goes into the ground and goes into streams and such, and ultimately it's not good for the environment nor people. So I'm not sure about this boot, but I am sure about other boots. I'll let you know. All right, so now we're gonna move forward to this. This is the next boot, the second lightest of the four. This is the Salomon Quest 4 GTX, or GTX 4, whichever way you want to put it. Or I think there's GTX in the name of it. They all kind of have that in them, right? So this has a higher like ankle support, I guess you could say. There's just more material, more to hold your ankle. You know, you're not going to roll it as likely as something with this. Yeah, it's just more support. And this is definitely something I would use more geared towards, like, more towards it'd be like mountaineering. I mean, you're not going to be doing mountaineering in this, I'm sure, but it's more in that direction, I will say. They do have the rubber toe incorporated in this boot, as well as leather, and this is a waterproof boot, gore-tex, per usual on quality hiking boots. We have a Conti grip outer sole. This is, it's very flexible in my opinion, and it's very soft rubber when compared to the other boots. It's pretty soft and it's a lot more flexible. I personally think it's more flexible than this Asolo right here, and significantly more flexible than the Sportiva Karakorum. This boot is the most flexible, has the ankle support, waterproof, it has metal eyelets. That's another plus on here. They're not all metal, but at least there's more. I mean, you get this set here, and then you get another set, and then the top two up here are also metal. When you start getting the higher price boots, kind of like the Asolo, that's when you start getting like titanium eyelets. And they even say they're self-cleaning, which is fantastic, you know. Hopefully it makes me some toast in the morning too, right? Anyways, yeah, so this boot is really nice. I really like it, but I would not use it for anything winter related. Same as I wouldn't with this Merrill. This is something I would use and have used in the spring and summer because there's no insulation in this boot. I mean, if there is, it's very minimal. It's nothing like the Karakorum here. That's definitely a more, mountaineering tailored boot. This is just like a pure hiking boot that is just a better performing boot. I will say though, this right here, this area, it's kind of, it really dug into my feet. When my feet would bend, this part would really just crush, it felt like almost every time I stepped. It would just push on those bones in my feet. And but over time, I don't know what happened, if the boot just broke in a little more, that went away. So I will tell you that. That is something to note. And the what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, this collar back here is really soft, and it can, like, you can see I can just push it in. It's very malleable. It's really nice to have something like that compared to, like, say this boot. Like, this one's a little more stiff in the back, but this is not. So when you're like going, like, your foot's going up like this, and you're, naturally your foot is going to bend down like this, and it's going to wear on your Achilles or your heel, whatever you want to say, and it's going to hurt. It's going to start, getting irritated. But with this, it's a lot more forgiving. The boot's a lot more forgiving, in other words. That's what I'm just trying to say. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this boot, but I really like it a lot. And then we also have the Asolo GTX, Fugitive GTX. That's this next boot here. I've used this a lot. You can tell from the bottom. Yeah, I have used this a lot. I used it when I was doing landscaping for a couple summers and general maintenance, and yeah, the sole is definitely worn out, but I'm sure that's because I wasn't just walking on, you know, rocks, like a dirt trail all the time. But yeah, this material in this boot is really high quality, and you'll find that commonly in an Asolo boot. And they generally tend to kind of stand out, I'd say, on a, on a rack behind you. Like, if you're going to like an REI or any kind of store that has hiking boots and they have these, I'm sure it'll stand out more to you, just because the material. There's just a lot incorporated into these boots, and to me that just says quality, and that they're not interested in just using like two fabrics, like this. It's like what, rubber, the nubuck leather, and that perforated, yet breathable, gore-tex material. I mean, that's like three with the, and I guess there are the metal eyelets at the top, right? But like this one comes with titanium eyelets, all of them. I'm sure that these laces are higher quality than the Merrells even. I mean, you can just, the feeling of them, you just know. And because I've used these way more, I know that they last. I mean, I could probably clean these up and they would look pretty good too. But I mean, like, I don't really care to do that with my hiking boots because they're just gonna get dirty again. But anyways, yeah, there's like this nice leather on the back. You get this leather here. It's waterproof. Over time though, they did become not waterproof, obviously, because that just happens, but it's got this really nice material above this, you could say almost like just like a piece of leather here. You got this nice nylon. It's a nylon material, synthetic, that's just very high quality. It's kind of stiff, but honestly, rigidity is key if you want something more tailored to mountaineering. The sole is going to be stiffer than, say, this boot. Like you're going from up, if you're going to go from this to this, that's a great direction, just general hiking. And then you want to get into something a little more towards, like, you're going to go climb a 14er. This is that boot probably. It's also narrow. I mean, check this out. If you're going to be doing mountaineering stuff in general, I hope you have a narrow foot, because this boot is narrow. And I personally would think that having narrow feet is kind of nice. I fit into a lot of shoes that way. But narrow also means, I think, that you can kind of get into different footing when you're going up harder terrain. So say like you're hiking famous in a 14, let's say Long's Peak, or like, Long's Peak, let's say that, and you're going up the blanking on it. What is that called? The home stretch. You have to definitely get in some interesting, positions possibly, and put your feet into narrow crevices and things. Small footing. And this boot did great for me when I did that, because it's narrow. And it's generally not much heavier than this boot, so doing something kind of longer, it's not going to kill your feet to be like you're not lugging all this weight around. It's a good medium. I'd say it's a good medium in weight and quality for sure. What else was I going to say? Also, something really important with boots like this is that you want to be able to get these resoled. So not like you're reselling, not that. I mean, like, the sole gets replaced. So you can send this boot back to Asolo and they will replace it, this whole bottom. So when this wears out or falls off, yeah, get it replaced. That is not the case though with the Merrill Moab. And I wouldn't really expect that either from a $130 boot. Kind of just don't expect that. And I wouldn't, okay? Unless you find a great deal on a pair of shoes that's like 50% off and they're $130, maybe in that $260 range, like these, I forgot to mention that these are about, actually, I think they're more towards like 300, but I think they're about 260 and up. They're in that area. That's kind of when I think you kind of get a higher quality boot that gets resold. And same with this boot. This is a more expensive boot than this one by $100. I got this actually on as a discounted significantly, 40% off, in Taos at a great mountain shop. Yeah, the owner came in and just talked to him and said I like the boot, and I asked him if the sale was going on even though it's already discounted, and he said yeah, sure, why not. So I got a really good deal on these. I think I paid like, I think about $130, same price. But yeah, these are generally about I think $215, $220, $230, something like that. Expect that with tax. But yeah, these don't get you cannot get this resold, and that does kind of suck because this Conta grip sole just it seems like something that I can tell is going to wear out quickly. But then again, my dad has a pair of these and he's been wearing them for many years. But then again, I don't know. I don't know how much walking he exactly does, or hiking in general, I mean. So yeah, I'm sure he rotates through other boots. Anyways, so yeah, this is a great boot. I would choose it probably over the Merrill, depending on what you're doing. Just in general, I've used this for a lot of different stuff, easier to harder stuff, and I've just liked it. And I've used it as a boot that I've worn for like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I can say very confidently that this is a good boot, but I would recommend swapping the sole, or the insert, you know what I mean? The insert, something with a little more support, maybe for your arches. My feet hurt bad when I first got them and I was hiking around. My feet just ached. It felt like there was, I mean, sure, there's not really a lot of cushion in these kind of boots, because it's kind of like stability or cushion. Which one do you want, you know? So I would get a different insert for your foot if you're gonna go with the Asolo Fugitive GTX. So last but not least, we're gonna move on to the Karakorum here. And this boot is really nice. It is the most expensive of them. I'm positive. I think it's about like 300 and I think 330, maybe to 350, something like that. I think it's about 330 though. And yeah, this boot is really, really nice. It does have the gusseting as well, just like the Asolos do, just like you know, the Salomons and the Moabs. But it's definitely like, it's very high quality. I mean, it's leather. It's literally leather, the whole thing. There's a lot of leather involved with this boot. And actually, this leather right here is silicone impregnated leather, which is ideal for the waterproofing of a boot. And these have that. So that's really nice. The eyelets are metal. I'm sure they're titanium. I'm not really 100% sure on that detail, but they are very high quality. All metal is amazing. Like, it's really nice. I mean, sure, there's one section that has fabric eyelets, but the majority of them are not. So I wouldn't worry too much. And also, a plus about these boots, something really cool, is that right here, right where your foot kind of bends, and basically where you would probably like lace down your boot too, because all the other eyelets are like looser. Like, see, I can whatever lace it up, but there's these spots right here that kind of, it's an eyelet that snaps basically, and it snaps your laces into one like size, you could say. Like, this whole section is not going to move. So if you like it in one spot and you snap those over, you don't ever have to change that again. So you can have a consistent boot in that sense. I think that's a nice feature. Also, it's got the rubber all the way around the toe. It's got that all the way around, all the way to the back here actually. And on the other side, it goes all the way around to the back right here. Sorry, caught a wind. And these shoelaces are like, they look basically identical to the ones in the Asolo. In the like, just, you can just tell it's probably the same company that makes the laces, I'm sure. So I'm sure the laces are high quality. It's not made out of recycled material. you know, I don't know. What else? Vibram sole. Forgot to mention that. Of course, that's super important, right? This Vibram sole is pretty solid. It's very deep tread on these. Like, it's pretty deep. I'd say it's deeper than the Moabs. Compared to these, yeah, still taller than these. And I can't really tell with these because they're so worn, but from what I remember, these weren't crazy, you know. They're probably about the same as the Moabs or the Salomon, somewhere in that mix. These just have a taller, you know, cutout, I guess you could say. They're not self-cleaning though, like these Asolos. These Asolos have, they call it a self-cleaning kind of sole, where I guess you just tap it on the, you know, tap it on the ground or whatever, and all the stuff's supposed to just fall out. I haven't really had that success. Probably depending on what material you're walking through, that might change that. You know, if it's just dry stuff, sure, or just use a stick and you pick it out. But yeah, so the grip on these is great too. And it's interesting because there's actually this material, or not material, the texture, there's like a textured feeling on certain parts of this sole that is, I find, pretty interesting. I noticed that these boots actually used to have that when I first got them, and I'm sure that that has something to do with grip. But yeah, it's a Vibram sole, and they're solid. They're actually, this is the warmest boot of all of them, for sure. The Asolo, I would not say that's a very well insulated boot. I've tried to use it in the winter. Not warm. I wouldn't recommend it. My feet get cold pretty easily, so yeah, I know. Anyways, I'm sorry I'm bouncing around a lot. It's just kind of like a lot of information to hold in and then try and apply it to every single shoe that I'm picking up, and then try not to go back to them. It's just hard. You know, and you start remembering things when you start talking about other stuff. So my apologies for that. I'm not, you know, I'm not a computer. But anyways, yeah, I just think this is a really nice boot, and it's this is a I think it's Cordura. Sorry, it's a Cordura collar, and it also is very flexible, just like the one on the Salomon. Very flexible. It's actually probably more flexible, really, than the Salomon one. I can just easily push that in. That's so nice, because with a stiff boot like this, that would just suck if this material up here was just as firm as the stuff in the front, you know? Like, your feet would just be, you know, they'd be crying, you know? So this boot's really nice with that kind of, you know, feature incorporated into it. Just makes hiking a lot more pleasant. And I've actually used these in like really deep snow, like knee-high snow. And when I got out of the snow, like after walking for like 2 hours in like knee-high snow, no snowshoes either. This was completely dry. This leather right here, completely dry. It looked like I didn't even use them, and they still don't look like I've used them. So I do think, though, if you're gonna be doing like rough terrain and you're gonna be banging up against stuff, this nice leather, the silicone impregnated leather, is gonna look real beat up over time. I'm sure it will. But because it is, you know, impregnated with the silicone, I'm sure that it's gonna be an extremely durable boot in the long run. Especially compared to these others. You can just tell when you pick up a boot. You can probably tell what boot's gonna last longer, what, you know, what has a little more thought involved into it, just what's more provoking to you. You know, you'll see when you pick up boots and try them on. You know, just because a boot is light doesn't mean it's, you know, junk. You know, you're just getting what you pay for, and you're also, you know, you got to weigh out, what do you want? I mean, do you want something that's, you can go just walk around a lake, you know, or like a little dirt trail around a lake? Sure, this would be great. Why put something big on? There's no reason. Save your money for something else. You know, it's just like, I know this is weird, but like camouflage. Like, when it's winter, you're not gonna wear like something like, what is an example? I don't know. There's a lot of different camos, and I'm just trying to think of them. But like you could wear multicam in the winter, I'm sure, and if you wore some white with it, it might blend in well, depending on where you live. But like you wouldn't probably want to do that if you were, say, hunting or whatever you're doing. You'd choose like an all white outfit and probably warm clothes, you know? So it's kind of like with a boot. Like if you're gonna be doing something intense, more intense or heavy duty, like backpacking, you'd probably choose this over this because you get the lightness and you also get the ankle support and it's still breathable. Maybe not as breathable as the Moab, but still breathable, much more breathable than this. You wouldn't want to probably go hiking in like 80-degree weather even with a boot like this, you know, backpacking with 50 pounds on your back, you know. I personally have used this in the summer though, and like I did Long's Peak with this boot, and I backpacked up to the boulder field and with my girlfriend, and this boot did totally fine. Like my feet were hot, but like your feet are gonna get hot because you're doing something, you're doing exercise, but like, you know, they weren't sweltering by any means. And I got plenty of ankle support with these, and yeah, I don't know, everything's tailored to what you want. You can do that, you know, with boots, which is awesome. You know, you can choose whatever it's just like cars, you know. You could get a sedan for a road trip, and then you in for like general commuting, and then when you want to go in the mountains, you could have a 4Runner, you know. Different things, different applications, or like the in-between, like a RAV4 or like a Toyota Highlander would be like the Moab of hiking boots, you know. This would be like a Land Rover Defender 90, like an old one. That's what this would be if it were a car, and then this would probably be somewhere in the middle of like an old Land Rover Defender, like maybe like a Toyota Tundra. This would be like the Toyota Tundra, and then maybe this would be like a Toyota Tacoma, how about? And then yeah, RAV4 or something, Highlander, whatever. Anyways, so enough of that. I really want to get into detail all the different fabrics and everything, but it's just like, it's just a lot of information, and honestly, you know, it's just a lot for me to remember. So I'm sure I'll throw in some clips here, just kind of displaying the shoes, talking about them, the materials specifically, and I'll also have links to these shoes. So we got the Moab here. It's got the gore-tex waterproof membrane. It's got the toe cap protection just like the rest of the boots. It's got a nubuck leather upper similar to the other boots as well. It's got laces, webbing, and mesh made from recycled materials in the midsoles, the Merrill Air cushion. It's got the Vibram TC5 Plus for great traction performance, and it cannot be resoled, and that's really important. But it is very light, and it is also a very cost-effective option at $130, and it has great ankle support. Anyways, besides that, the instep feels clunky. The eyelets are fabric, and it's not warm enough for winter, so yeah, I wouldn't use it for that, but it is great for late spring, summer, and early fall. Next, we got that Salomon. It's got the gore-tex waterproofing, and it's also got that toe cap protection. It's also got the nubuck leather upper, stated to have quality, you know, materials used. It's got the textile lining, which is soft and breathable. It's also got a gusseted tongue, just like the rest of them. It's got a molded ortholite sock liner, which adds, you know, to the breathability. It's got an energy cell midsole made out of a certain type of foam. It's got a SensiFit system, which kind of helps it cradle your foot. And speaking of, you know, foot, you know, it's important to get this thing resoled. Can't do that with your human foot, but, you know, you also can't do that with this shoe either. All right, so it is light, flexible, and supports the ankle well. It's waterproof. Great. Those are great things, right? PFC free. That's great. What else? At least some eyelets are made of metal. Yeah, that's pretty great. And the soft outer sole will wear out faster though. And you know, at first it may not be as comfortable, but it will break in, and it's not warm enough for winter, but I'd say it's great for summer, spring, and fall. So if that sounds like something that'd be interesting to you, for you to use, then I'd recommend this boot. But next we've got the Asolo. So with this one, you know, we've got the gore-tex waterproof and breathable membrane. It's got the upper made from a water-resistant nubuck and nylon. It's got the toe cap protection. It also has an anatomic footbed called the Light 2. And outsoles the Asolo Synchro, which is made of a polyurethane, and it can be resoled. So it's also light and great with ankle support. It's also got a narrow design, so you got better footing with difficult terrain. The eyelets are titanium, so it's a little more durable for sure, and it's also not too hot for summer.
I think it's a good combination. It's got some issues with the footbed. You might need something better, and it's not really that warm for winter. So, maybe consider something else for winter, which would be like probably the next boot. So this boot's got the 2.8 millimeter Idro Perwanger leather upper silicone. What is Perwanger? Well, it's an impregnated leather. It's an Italian leather. It's done sustainably, tanned. It's got dry best lining. The insole's 8 millimeter tapered high density nylon. It's got a midsole, an SBR air cushion, which is great for breathability. Outsole's aggressive. It's called the Vibram Coular. You can look that up if you want for any more information. Gusseted tongue like the rest. Multi-directional 3D hinge design. Ankle support feels like a pillow, basically like hugging my foot. It's got traditional mountaineering style, which is like plus if you like that. High tread depth, maybe too stiff though for some people. Not quite as narrow, but it is great for fall, winter, and spring.
Well, hey, thank you for watching this video. I hope this information was helpful. I really hope that you find a hiking boot that suits your feet and your needs, and tune in for more at And Sober. My name is Grayson. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay clean, listen to your mind, body, and soul, and you can't go wrong then. So, yeah, thanks. Have a good one.